Sports Card Radio, Sports Card Anonymous, I'm calling you both out. I was watching both your videos. I love them. I am, but I have to call you both out. This is what I'm say. You both make great comments about grading and the problems and the challenges. And I do recommend, if you haven't watched your videos, go watch it right now. But you don't give answers to the problem. Let me give you two answers that we need. Standards-based grading, okay? Anti-fraud registry. Keep those two things in mind. Let me go ahead and jump in this video. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, do all other cool stuff. Okay, so what I'm talking about is Sports Card Radio. I think yesterday I dropped a video updating you on the grading companies, and Sports Card Anonymous did a great video. His kind of follow up his opinion of it. Let me just say this. I've said this for a long time. As a guy who came back into the hobby in 2015, 16, I was like, what the hell is with grading? Like, it didn't make sense to me, because since there was no standard, no certification, no degree you had to get, it just was like, you're a wizard, right? I always tease it. You'll hear my videos. I refer to graders as wizards. Anybody can be a wizard. And you assume that some of these wizards were like gray bearded old wizards who looked at all the magic in the world. And then in the last 2 years, like, everybody's a wizard. You're a wizard. He's a wizard. I can be a wizard too. Anybody. And we had the grading boom, right? Everybody's grading cards and everybody's slabbing it. Look, I've said this before. Part of grading is just protecting a card and getting a third party opinion. So let me stress this. The reason we have grading is typically, or what it was is, when I make a transaction with somebody, I say, hey, the card's in great condition. The guys, well, how great is it? Well, it's in really great condition. Well, who told you that? A third party, GMA, ABC, EFG, didn't make a damn bit difference. Somebody would come and go, no, it's really good. A great video on this, by the way, is Baseball Card Collector, Investor, Dealer, not in that order, but check him out. Anyway, my point to that is what we need in grading, is some third party to give some basic understanding of the quality of the card, so that a transaction can take place between two other people who don't know each other, right? That's the goal of grading. Somewhere in there, we lost all that stuff. Here's some things I didn't understand. BGS, he talks about, and this is Sports Card Radio, talks about bad owner and some bad juju there. My comment with BGS, I didn't know that, right? I think BGS, I think Beckett, I think Dr. Beckett, I think the name, and I think that's a great name. You guys like my Sports Card Investor t-shirt on? Anyway, so I actually think Beckett had a good name, but I do agree with you. They've been asleep. They don't pay attention. They don't seem to care. They at least had a, what's it called? A pop count. They do a terrible job with it. I don't know what to say about Beckett. I do like, again, as somebody who's looking for a third-party opinion, I like the fact that I get these little subgrades. I used to get it on all their cards. And I also like the fact they encapsulate the card in a little piece of plastic, so in case it gets in water or weather, it's protected too. Those, to me, are value adds that no one else seemed to have. Not important, though, in the grading world, right? SGC, look, I'm going to agree on what Sports Card Radio said. No one used SGC at all for modern. And we really did fall in this whole thing, that one interview that Peter had with my buddy, what's his name, Josh, and said, oh, bring me your cards. I'll take all your cards in 2020. And everybody floods them, because why'd they want them graded? So that they could sell them. They weren't grading them for their PC or their SGC registry, right? They're grading them to get it sold. So everybody doing that, I mean, it was all money move. That's okay. But I will say, look, I think SGC, I appreciate what they've done. I think they've done some amazing things. I know a lot of people use them. They've grown a lot in the market. They've probably had the best move in the grading space as far as market share. I just don't have confidence in them. I think they lack true executive long-term leadership. I think they need to look into the registry. Now, I will say this. All these companies that I insult all could position themselves as leaders in the future. That's kind of a cool thing about this. And I'll talk about that in a moment. HGA, right? When HGA popped in the market, my first thought was, there's no way in hell anybody's going to accept this thing. But then next thing I saw was those Michael Baker stickers. And I was like, people are accepting that? Of course they're going to accept HGA. Now, again, it was just a money play. Why do people use HGA? Because they get graded and people would bought it because it's the first one that went to market, or it was a different slab, or it was the color they liked, or collector thought it was cool. But reality is, if we're going to go back, the magic, the magician behind it isn't quite as good, right? We don't have AI. No one's explaining AI to me. In fact, there's better grading companies out there with AI. The great TGT, I think, was using AI. Really cool. I don't know what the hell happened to them. SGC, let me just say this. In my opinion, and Sports Card Radio and Sports Card Anonymous both make kind of positive comments. I think this is the one to keep an eye on. I think they're the best run company, and I don't know the history if they got any bad founders. It seems like everybody in sports card has a shady past, right? Like, there's no, maybe there are. There's nobody here with like who are pristine. I'll put that way. If you graded people in the hobby, they'd all be like 6s and 7s and 5s and 4s. It's like there's very few 9s. There's very few gem mints. Okay, SGC, I think will be the leader. Their vision, They have introduced the set registry, which has not been taking off like I think it should, but they're not promoting it. And I've always said a global set registry would do better than just coming out with a set registry, but I do applaud them for that. Business position is also the best. SGC is in the best position to have an impact. And I go back to look, if I want to trust one person for grading, it would be maybe a Fanatics or maybe an eBay, right? And if SGC's got their finger in both, that's something to keep your eyes on. They're also in Coins and Comics, by the way. PSA, look, PSA is Nat Turner is a genius. What he basically did, he had a collection of cards. He goes, you know what? I don't want to pay for these cards anymore. I'm going to make a business deal with PSA. I'm going to profit on PSA. And now my collection's basically on the house because we all paid for his collection right now. He has profited so much off PSA. It's ridiculous. And the fact that you guys in 1 year have said, taken something that used to cost $10 and now accepted at $50 is disgusting. And there's been no increase in quality. If anything, quality's decreased because what has he done? He made more wizards. It's not like he had 10 really good wizards, the best wizards in the world, and he automated the process so those 10 wizards look at everything. No, he just made 100,000 wizards. Oh my God, don't get me started. And the acquisitions he's made. Look, I will say what Sports Card Radio talked about with the Golden acquisition. Let's talk about Card Ladder, another company which is a shady past when we look at the quality of the people. Okay, Card Ladder, these are the guys who will tell you the market cap of a card is based on the last sale of the card, and every card in the world is worth the same value of that card. It makes me sick. And then these guys were selling picks, and these guys are sitting in the room telling you they don't sell picks, and they sell classes. Look, just shady, shady, shady. So PSA, what I will say, they have the most to lose in the position they're in, okay? Because they are a leader, because people do assume that they're the leader, but people come in the hobby think they are. They have the most to lose, and I think they will lose it. I do not think they are going to run long because I think A, don't think they're managed well. B, I don't think they're in it for the hobby. They're in it for profit. And C, and most importantly, is that this market's still wide open. Let me tell you why. If you've made it this far in the video, please like, click, thumbs, all that stuff, comments, tell me you don't like me. I don't care. Listen, here's why, guys. What's really interesting about the grading market, it is the most consumer-driven market I've seen. And I won't say in the hobby, but let's just say I've seen. And the reason I say that, follow me, guys, real quick history here. In the 1990s, when grading came out, most people thought it was hocus pocus. They're like, right? It was later adopted. Okay, and there were several companies that came out, and there were many that fell apart and didn't make it, right? And then you had what I'd say the SGCs, the Beckett's, and the PSA that kind of rose from the ashes and kind of moved forward. Now, they were driven by market demand. It was a market that accepted it, a market that kind of created niches there. SGC was more of a vintage, right? Geeky. They had that 100 grade scale. PSA, I think, did really well with the collectors because the set registry, also vintage. Autos were not big at this time, right? Autos didn't really come out until the 2000s. There were autos in the 90s. I don't hear about autos, but autos weren't as big. When autos did come out, Beckett dropped in there with the subgrade. You had an auto subgrade, you had the card subgrade. I think PSA was later to that. Also, they did the subgrades in general of the card. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze here. My point is by the time I came back to the market in 2016, 15, 16, BGS was the market leader. Not gonna edit that out. BGS was the leader. PSA was, again, that's where your grandmother sold your card, you sent your cards to, and for your collection, and SGCs where you sent your grandfather's cards. But again, this market changed. HGA came in the market and took off because it was consumer driven. Okay, CSG was in Coins and Comics, and they in 1 year created a market, and in really not only created a market, but created business positions in just less than 2 years that have made them a top competitor in this business space. And PSA accidentally, in my opinion, stumbled in the first place because an uneducated consumer base came in and can't differentiate the difference between 9.5 with subgrades and a 10. That's honestly the reason they won, guys. There's no 9.5 in PSA. So in PSA world, there's either 10 or 9. So to me, it's a 10. And everybody else, I don't say everybody, but everybody else had a more complicated. SGC had a 100-point scale. BGS had a sub-point, a 10. That's why they won. Okay. Let me give you the solution here. What bothers me the most, guys, is there's no leader in this hobby. Still no leader. Nobody, it's anybody that I know or like that's taken a position where let's make this hobby truly better in giving solutions. And I told you at the beginning of the video, the solutions to this are things like standards in this industry. Now, I've heard Peter say, well, we grade 100 different things. We don't just look at common corners, edges, blah, blah, blah. Great. That's wonderful, Peter. And that can be your differentiation. But when you make a cake, how do you make a cake? A cake is a cake because it's done how? I don't know, but there's certain standards in making a cake. There's cupcakes and there's cakes. My point is, let's lay down some standards in the industry and let's agree upon them. And if I was one of these grading companies, I would set up a grading consortium or conference and meet with other graders and lay out for them, say, here are the standards I'd like to propose for grading a trading card blank, and it should be this and it should be that. And here are what I will use. This magnification will be what I use to grade it. And here's how I'll do that. Lay out standards for us in the industry, because there's two things this will do. You will become a leader as by doing this, and others will follow. Not only the other grading companies, but me as a consumer. I'll be like, oh, now I know what they're looking for. They're looking for this in the corner, so I can check this. And when I'm buying, I can go, oh, it's going to meet your standard. Gives people standards, people. If you then, SGC Peter, want to differentiate yourself because you grade on 500 different factors, including the air density of the card at a certain elevation, great. That's what makes you different. But let's start with standards. This hobby needs standards in grading. Give me standards. Start with some basics. Community driven, great. Industry driven, better. But let's get that going. Second thing, anti-fraud registry. I'd like it to be this global registry for set collectors, okay? I think that's a driver to this. But the minimum, guys, each one of you grading companies is looking at a card. You're spending time on the card, you're making pictures of the card, whatever it might be. Capture that data, the serial number if you can, the condition, whatever it might be, the gem mint signature, and share that in a public database for the community so we can prevent fraud. So for example, let's say you get an RPA that comes in and it's a bland napkin patch, but it's a great player, and you grade the card. And then a few years later, that card ends up graded by one of your competitors, but with a totally different patch. The fact that you shared that information in a standards-based database can help that other grading company who made that mistake, or maybe prevent them from making that mistake. And more importantly, protect the consumer and the collector and the hobby. Who is with me? Guys, these are what we need. I understand the problems are there. Look, I'm great at pointing problems out. But I'll be the first to say, we're going to point out problems. Let's find some solutions. And I think those are small steps. So guys, any one of you grading companies out there, DCI, ABC, CGB, take your leadership role. And I've seen a few of you trying this, right? And it's harder for the smaller guys, right? But if you're one of the bigger guys, Beckett, even PSA, if you're listening to this, God help me, that'd be ironic, wouldn't it? Standards and anti-theft/fraud prevention registry. Hope you guys like this video. I hope you listened this long. That was a very important message. Maybe I should put that in the beginning of the message. But anyway, have a great day. Thank you. Bye.